the Weedsmen Potcast.
ChristopherMedia.net.
If you look around, you'll see the world can be pretty smart. Okay, very smart. At Capella University, we think education should be smart too. That's why we're reshaping online learning with our FlexPath format. You can set your own deadlines, take classes at your own pace, even leverage your previous experience to move faster. So when it comes to earning your bachelor's degree, you know what kind of choice to make. A smart one. Visit capella.edu to learn more. Capella University. Don't just learn, learn smarter.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, what are you guys up to?
Oh, a little weed, you know.
It's the Weedsmen Podcast Nugget.
Zippity what?
Ready to drop the bass? Let's drop the bass.
Whoop-de-doo. What does it all mean?
All the random stuff that didn't fit in Friday's show you'll find here.
Oh, okay.
Hey, man. You got a joint?
Got a little bit of refried smell on your boy?
What that mean?
Please, just give me my weed, all right?
So how was your New Year's Eve? Happy New Year's.
Yeah, same to you. Low key.
Yeah.
I know anything. My wife partied her ass off with her maid of honor.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't do shit. Yeah, I didn't do anything. It was great.
Wait, so you were all alone for it too?
Oh, yeah. It's, I was sleeping at like 11:55. I'm like, oh, hey, it's 11:55. Oh, hey, it's midnight. All right. Back to sleep.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
That's New Year's at 41, kids.
hard.
That's your future.
What's that?
That's New Year's at 41, young people. That's your future.
Well, I was lucky enough to have my kids over for New Year's at least, but they were kind of doing their own thing. And my oldest was playing Warcraft or something like that, and they weren't completely oblivious to what was going on. I heard them in there talking to whoever they were online with, saying, "Oh, hey, it's almost midnight. Hey, Happy New Year's, guys!" But I wasn't really paying close attention at the time, but when I started hearing the fire going off, I knew that it had to be getting close to midnight.
Yeah, that's the one thing, too. It's after midnight. It sounded like the 4th of July.
Yep.
For like 10 minutes, and then...
Me and my youngest went outside, because we heard lots of bangs, and I was like, well, let's go see what's going on, see if there's some cool fireworks to look at. And I don't know, it must have just been a bunch of M80s and shit, because nobody really had anything that was shooting up into the sky. And I was about to call it quits because it was a cold night. And then like 2 doors down, they light off this big green thing that shoots up into the air like 80 feet. And I was like, all right, we got a show right here. And then they light off another one and it explodes on the ground. And I'm like, time to go inside because that next one's tipping over and shooting our way.
Yeah, right. The drunk people and fireworks,
Yeah.
everybody. Question is, did your neighbor get so hammered he came out and started screaming nonsense again?
He did not do it. Not Steve. He has been out. And I'm getting, what was somewhat charming crazy has now turned into direct threats,
Was he naming names?
Well, no, but I heard some yelling. My kids were over one night the last time he was doing it. And I heard some yelling outside, and so I went to check it out. And my youngest was looking out the window. And it's like, oh, that dude's outside yelling at people. And he sees me in the window at him and starts yelling at me. And I should, come out there and prove what kind of man I am, I guess, by fighting him in the streets. I mean, this guy's sloshed. Like I would wipe the pavement with this guy. That's not really the issue here. It's not that I feel threatened, but why should I have to live in a place where, my kids are going to have to feel uneasy because, never know when the old guy across the street is going to come out and threaten everyone.
Well, yeah, it's every time you have a couple too many, is this where you have to deal with this?
Yeah. And, the police are useless. They're completely useless. I considered calling them just to see, maybe I should just lodge a complaint. If it's an issue. So there's something on record of like, hey, I told you this shit was going to happen. But what do they ever do? They come and they go, hey, you got it in your house. So they can't babysit them. I mean, I don't expect them to station an officer on the corner of my street.
What's probably their standard answer we can't do anything till he does something.
Right. And sure, I'm sure there's like public intoxication or something that they can hit them with, but I don't even know that that's the best use of police time.
Hey, breaking news. Dr. Dre had an aneurysm. He's live.
I was going to say, I just saw that. My ex just texted me, had a brain aneurysm and is in the hospital, but is alive.
It says he's stable and lucid. Man, we're getting old. The things that are happening to the people we listened to when we were younger.
Yeah, dude, but this dude's like 55. Yeah, he's 55 years old.
Yeah, I mean, that's not senior citizen, but he ain't spring chicken either.
That's the thing with those names, though. Like, that's not really an old
aneurysm
person thing. That's an anytime.
Yeah, it just killed like a 42-year-old congressman from Pennsylvania
really?
Over the weekend. Yeah. Some representative from Pennsylvania. But yeah, 42 years old, aneurysm. Done. See ya.
Damn. Well, I wish him well. I know that's one of those things where you could totally, completely recover from an aneurysm, or you could never be the same. Twitter has been really testing my patience lately, and
I don't know how you are still on Twitter.
It's the only social media I have, and I have fun with it. The trick is that you got to question, you got to make sure that you're cycling out the crazies. Crazy people are fun to follow, but then you find that like their shit's popping up too much in your feed and starting to maybe influence your thoughts on stuff. You're like, oh no, wait, that's the crazy follow. This is a person that I follow because they're like, maybe I should keep tabs on them.
You're like, no one should keep tabs on that ever.
But yeah, it's just poison. That's all it is. But I don't find that to be the majority of Twitter. It occasionally pisses me off. I mean, there were at least 10 people that I unfollowed over the weekend because of the Bean Dad thing. Are you familiar with this story?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually don't. So I don't know if you're familiar with
pro Bean Dad or
well, I'm totally pro Bean.
Yeah,
I don't know how not be pro Bean Dad. Like he didn't do anything wrong, but. That's John Roderick. That's the host. Him and Ken Jennings are the host of the Omnibus podcast. It's a theme of like a time capsule podcast where they're just like, here's the stuff. Here's just like, random stuff. Could be about history. It could be about, I don't know. Just they pick a subject and just explore it. It's kind of like a stuff you should know type of podcast. Like there's no theme as far as what they talk about. But anyway, I mean, they're both really good on the podcast. And I know that there's been, of course, once somebody messes up once on Twitter, they're like, well, let's dig up their whole past and find out everything that they've done.
Yeah.
And they found
the villagers with the torches circle real quick.
They found, both John Roderick and Ken Jennings have tweeted some controversial stuff in the past and been confronted with it. That wasn't really news.
Also depends what your definition of controversial is.
Yeah. Well, they're Gen Xers, right? And we're all guilty of telling racist jokes and using racist terms, not in directly racist ways, like, and I'm not trying to defend this behavior, but in ways that we think were like edgy. Like we could talk
about his gay retard tweet.
Yeah, like stuff like that. Like every time somebody tells, I try and
I thought that tweet was funny
too. He says, some gay retard use the words gay and retard or something like that. So that's a perfect example of it. He's like, does John Roderick hate gay people and think that, that any person with a mental impairment of any kind should be referred to as retarded? No, from listening to their podcast. I'm not saying that these guys are the most forward-thinking guys out there. They're aging Xers that are fun to listen to, but I hear them trying. These are
Xers likes to use the language against itself.
Wait, I'm sorry. Say that again.
So Gen Xers like to use the language against itself.
Yes,
things like that.
Yeah, and that's it, really. I mean, they effectively chased him off of Twitter for a story about. I mean, I didn't realize who it was at first they were talking about. I didn't follow John Roderick on Twitter, and I found the thread, and I didn't read the name on it. I just saw like the gist of it, and then it was like, I don't know, 40 or more tweets in this thread. And I'm like, I'm not reading all this. But I understood the gist of it, which was that, like, he was taking a teaching moment with his kid, right? And
like, so you're going to have to learn to do it eventually. Let's learn now.
Yeah. And everyone's like, whoa, that's child abuse. This child was hungry, and he made her wait 6 hours. 6 hours. 6 hours in between meals. Can you imagine not eating for 6 hours? What would you do?
You mean like the period between dinner and lunch every day?
Yeah. Yes.
Or breakfast and lunch? If you eat breakfast?
The story was, it doesn't even start with I'm hungry. Like, I did go back and read and it starts off with, like, they're kind of playing and, we should have food for whatever thing that they're playing. Maybe, I think it's for dolls or something. That is where it starts. And then, we should, we should eat a can of beans. What do you mean a can? Oh, a can. Go get the can. What do you do with this thing? Well, figure it the fuck out, right? Now, that's not, Dad, I need to eat. Well, if you don't figure out how to make yourself something to eat, then you're shit out of luck. That is not the story. And the kid ultimately prevailed, right? It was the teaching moment worked. It took a lot longer than the dad thought it would, but look, you don't have to do it. The teaching moment here is that your parents aren't always going to be around to do everything for you. And I know that you're only 9 and nobody's kicking you out of the house and fend for yourself. But when do you start, this behavior of being self-sufficient in certain ways?
But by the way,
this should start young.
By 9, we can't open a can? That's 4th grade.
Yeah. Right.
I was definitely opening cans by 4th grade.
Yes. But, most stuff has just pull tab now, so you don't really need the can opener. Like, I was surprised how I found myself without a can opener for a while and realized that, like, I guess it had just gone missing. And all the stuff that I was consuming, which wasn't much. I don't do a lot of canned food in general because I have teeth. So, I wasn't really encountering the need for a can opener.
I mean, the thing that jumped to mind with me, my sister, when she had her first car, some piece of shit, like mid to late 80s Chevy Celebrity, rust bucket. She got a flat tire. It was at the Wendy's, within like a mile from our house. And my dad went up there and he brought me with him and he said, we're going to talk your sister through this. We're not going to help her. My sister was so pissed. I remember even being pissed. Sure. Like, Dad, let me help her. And he's like, no, because what was going to happen is the next weekend she wanted to go visit one of her friends in college that was going to take that car. And the whole point he was making is like, if this happens when you're on your way there on I-94, when you're in the middle, when you're between Ann Arbor and Jackson in the middle of nowhere, you need to know how to do this.
Right.
And cussing him up and down. Like I said, I was even mad at him. Like, let me help her. He's like, no, she has to fucking do this.
Yeah. But it's not like if a gang of thugs pulled over and tried to carjack you, your dad wouldn't have been like, you better hurry up with that tire, honey, or we're all going to die here.
Yeah. Well, no, too, that's the thing. The reason he was doing it, too, is she was in the parking lot of a fast food. She was in a controlled environment. We weren't on the side of a road.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, if you're on the side of the road, you get the fuck off the road first, or take care of it as quickly as possible so you can get off the fuck off the road.
Yeah, but he was like, since we're here, this is a parking lot. You're out of the way. We're gonna fucking do this. I'm gonna talk you through it, and you're changing your tire.
Yep. Yeah. Honestly, I can't. I'm sure if I really tried, I could come up with a good example. But I had a lot of those. I mean, I think that's another generational thing, though. Gen Xers we were raised much hands off.
Well, we were the last. I'm figuring this out as I get older. We were the last age group that had old schoolish type parents.
Yeah, we're still transitional. Like we weren't kids because we needed the family needed another hand on the farm.
Yeah, but
we weren't also the precious future of thing.
Yeah.
We weren't to be coddled. We were there, and we had to prove ourselves like anybody else.
We were probably the last age group to hear. Sure, you heard this a lot growing up. I did. Hey, life isn't fair.
Life is not fair. Yeah. And look, people who hear that and let's make it more fair. Because that's what you do, right? You say, hey, life isn't fair. Well, is there something we can do about it? I mean, sometimes there just isn't,
No, that's what I got. That's what I got thrown at me a lot of times. I was bitching about something that happened to my sister. Yeah, well, shit, life ain't fair. Get used to it.
Sure. But, some people can do, even like cancer. If cancer takes somebody from you that you love, and somebody says, well, life is not fair. You don't have any control over this. You don't, but maybe you do. Like, maybe you go into medicine. Maybe you make it your life's work to try and change that and make life a little more fair for other people. So I'm not shitting. I'm not shitting on the spirit of younger generations, generation after ours. It's just what they do with that energy.
We were taught there's something you can do about it.
Me. Like John Roderick was poisoning Twitter and he had to go. Like his discourse is pretty tame compared to most of what goes on that platform.
Yeah. But hey, you won again, Twitter mob. But what'd you win? Some guy you didn't care about before last weekend is now off Twitter. What'd you win?
The Weedsmen Potcast.
ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
The Weedsmen Potcast.
I got another geek vape device.
For what?
I got it. Well, I got a new tank. Because I've just been using that the Aegis, the pod system, and it's a great system. I like it, but it's not perfect. It occasionally leaks every once in a while. I can't set it down. If I set it down on my beds, it'll leak just a little bit, make a little circle on the bed sheet. And also, it's kind of small, and I'm constantly refilling it and charging it up. So I was like, well, I've got this other bigger battery that I got for my concentrates and stuff. Let me just get a new tank for that thing. So I got the Zeus Nano, which is, I think the only reason it's called Nano, because this is not a small tank by any means. It has two like glass tube options that come with. So I think it's like a 2 milliliter and 3.5 is the bigger one. So it's a pretty sizable tank. I think the only reason it's nano is because it's not a strictly high wattage direct lung type of tank. I mean, you can crank this baby up, and it takes the same. The reason I picked this one out is because it takes the exact same coils as the pods. So you sit out and get the direct lung experience, but I do the mouth to lung.
You can dial in a tank a lot better than you can dial in a pod.
Yeah, between controlling the settings on the battery, the airflow, and your choice of coil, you can pretty much customize an exact experience of how much flavor, how much vape.
Yeah.
And this thing, though, I'm loving it because I've had a fair amount of different tanks, and it's usually like it's hard to open. If not at first, like after a while, you'll have to have some kind of special tool to either wrench the thing open or get the coil out and replace it. And if it is too easy to open or replace the coil, then the thing leaks like crazy. But this one is solid, man. The top pops off, so it's a top fill. Mm-hmm. And it's got a nice big well around the edge of it that you can fill. So it's almost impossible to overfill or spill it unless you just knock it over while you're filling it. Although I will say the instructions, which were very sparse, they were mostly picture driven, and it shows it's like pop the top off to fill. And it illustrates, a hand reaching in and twisting the top off and removing it, and then it shows the liquid being poured right down the center of it. And so that's what I did. Only you're supposed to do it into the well on the side, and it kind of runs down. So
oops.
Yeah, so I fucked it up majorly the first time around. But as long as it directly in this, the refill will be clean. It's not going to drip. It's not going to overflow on you. It seals up nicely. Won't drip it won't leak at all once you've got it locked in. And I don't get, like with a lot of tanks, you get that leakage after you fill it. And so those first few hits tend to be kind of gurgly. there's too much actual liquid in the coil element. I haven't experienced that at all.
So I've been wondering about that Zeus tank. I tell you, smock tanks, I like them. My only issue with leakage was on planes, and apparently talking to vapors, like doesn't matter, you can't get out of that because it's an air pressure thing.
Yeah.
The best
probably creates a lot of bubbles in there, and that makes it kind of
like the best you can do is remember talking to one gentleman. He was a pilot, sitting next to him. He was just going home or whatever, but he just told me, he's like, yeah, whenever you're on a plane, he's like, just crack the top, just crack the top of your tank, and that'll keep the excess leakage from happening when the air pressure changes. I was like, oh, all right.
Right.
Cool. And he was right. But I don't think, do you think there's ever going to be a vape tank that you can turn it over and it won't leak? I don't think with physics it's possible with where vape technology is right now.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm a pretty lazy dude when I'm relaxed, and I like to lay down on the couch. And with most vape devices, like, you can't just do that. You can't invert the thing over you, because eventually it's going to start dripping into your mouth and shit and get all gunked up. So you kind of have to do the side hit with it. With this thing, I can do that. This is it's like the zero-G space pen. Like, this thing works upside down. Doesn't leak on me. Doesn't drip anything into my mouth. Hits fine.
Upside down? How do you hit your vape?
What? I mean, I'm laying on the couch, right? I'm laying on the couch. I bring the thing up to my mouth. Mm-hmm. At that point, the vape would be oriented, so that's upside down, and it doesn't drip on me.
Yeah, I've never. Well, maybe it's smock tanks. I've never had that issue. Yeah, I can.
Oh, okay.
I can do that, no problem.
But that's usually the instance where I've found that, like, I mean, eventually, if you just hang the thing upside down, I think the liquid, gravity will just kind of pull it down through the air hole. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's any way of getting around that. But yeah, the only time that I've had it leak on me was when I was futzing with the cap too much. So it's a really nice mechanism. It's just a quarter turn, but it locks in nice. So it's not like threaded. It's got like these little ramps, on the side, and it just locks in nicely. And it's got gaskets everywhere. Came with a whole set of replacement.
Isn't the airflow in the top?
Yes. Yeah, and that's part of the trick.
How's that?
It's great, and that's part of why it's so leak proof, because I mean, you're usually that. I mean, that's where the Aegis thing, the pod leaks on me. The little holes in the side for airflow is where a little bit of that liquid will drip out. Not a ton, but just enough to stain the sheets. A little pre-cum drips out of it.
Yeah.
But this doesn't happen because, like you're saying, that everything's up on top. So, your element still sits at the bottom of it, but the airflow comes in through the top, goes down, and then up through the center part. So, and I got them from, I think it was perfect. I got it for like $16. So it's totally worth it. I'm probably going to pick up another one just to have it, have all the spare parts.
Hey, under $20 for a tank is a win in my book.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's probably the least amount I've ever paid for a tank, and it's the best tank that I've ever had. Now, I've been using the pod systems for, it seems like a couple of years now almost.
There's a moral in that story, kids. Sometimes it's not all about the most expensive tank.
Or being, early adopters of technology. There's a lot of bad tank and battery designs. You found any new podcast, or did you have something?
I saw a documentary about Pepe the Frog. So my wife wanted to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I heard that was actually...
Yeah, it was called Feels Good, Man. It was good. You learned that the creator was, was just some hippie from San Francisco. And it was just, was based on a comic strip about post-college life. And basically, it tells you how...
It's a total slacker.
Yeah, and then 4chan comes in and just... Well, I finally learned what 4chan was. Like, I knew I gleaned what it was from years of talking with you and Rich.
Finally saw it?
Yeah, I didn't know everyone was anonymous.
Yes.
Like, it's just a big collection of pussies, then, in my opinion. It's a big collection of people who are afraid to put their name on something.
Yeah, that's why it's a breeding ground for insane conspiracy theories and hateful language and
because no one's got to own anything
ideas.
they put on there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, by the end you feel bad for this guy.
Right. That's the thing. Like, 4chan is just it's like a blank brick wall in an inner city, right? People are going to come by and spray paint, or better yet, the bar at the bathroom at your favorite bar, right? The one where all the cool bands play and people slap stickers and write shit all over the wall, right? It's just people can throw shit at the wall and nobody signs their name to that shit. And people are going in and reading it like it's the Bible. Like, it's on the internet, it must be true.
Now, the one thing I did, I thought the documentary made kind of a stretch is I think it, perhaps maybe is, how do I put this? Glorifying 4chan's role in the 2016 election. It tries to make it seem like 4chan essentially got Trump elected. And I'm like, yeah, that's to me where it started losing me a little bit.
Yeah, you can't put, most people are putting too much weight on 4chan, and
like, it essentially makes it seem Trump getting elected was like the most ultimate troll. Like, maybe if you're from the Trump camp, sure.
I know there's no way to know one way or the ultimately, but they don't strike me as voters. And you're telling me that all those people that I saw out there going to Trump rallies and standing in line to vote, see him and love him no matter what he does, even when he loses, that they're all out there because of something they read on 4chan?
Yeah.
Come on.
If I said the word 4chan to my 72-year-old mom, I don't know what the fuck she'd think it was.
Now, the influence of 4chan over material that ends up being disseminated on wider platforms like Facebook, we got a story there. But that's just one piece. Now, I don't know. I mean, in a race that was pretty tight like 2016 was, maybe it would have made enough of a difference, but that's the thing. Like, I'm so sick of these stories about like how this small group of people are going to be the ones to decide an election and therefore the future. No, we're all doing it. Like,
yeah,
Latinos didn't save Biden. 4chaners didn't save Trump. I mean, I'm not diminishing anyone's vote or responsibility or anything like that in swing election. It's a group effort, and that's the problem with politics. Is it's gotten so
the sum is greater than the parts.
Yeah, but I don't know.
It used to be.
No, it's too much minority rule now.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh, but now your liberal friends, so you're saying that thing.
So it just shows you that
you'll be out
there's
of the
a
club.
whole lot of white people in this country that only believe in democracy because it's worked for white people. And when it starts to work for other people who are not white, democracy isn't so great anymore. A white king would just be better. And you don't have to risk, this is why you have a bloodline. You don't have to risk black people taking over your country.
With the Marianne like Meghan Markle.
Right.
It's clearance season at Target. Save up to 70% off thousands of amazing finds like sweaters, sleepwear, outerwear, and shoes for the entire family. So shop the best clearance deals at Target, where low prices and great deals make it easy to save.
The Weedsmen Potcast. ChristopherMedia.net.